Ahmad Moten Sr. is a twitchy, disruptive defensive tackle with a violent first step and a relentless motor that will improve an NFL defensive line.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Damian Parson. That's Keith Sanchez. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this MLB season. Guys, on today's episode, we're breaking down Ahmad Moten Sr., disruptive defensive tackle for the Miami Hurricanes. We'll explain the grade a little bit later on, talk about the concerns when it pertains to his game. But as always, we start off with the pros, the things that we liked about the young man, Ahmad Moten Sr., accounted for 4.5 sacks last year, Keith, 2 QB hits, but 21 total pressures on the defensive line that also had Rueben Bain, Akheem Mesidor. Like that defensive line was absolutely legit for Miami last year. This is a highly disruptive, gap shooting and penetration style defensive tackle, Keith. He loves to get into the backfield and he lives there. What stood out to you on film when you watched Ahmad Moten Sr.?
Yeah, the first thing that stood out, DP, was my first thought was this isn't fair. Because I looked at Ahmad Moten and then I seen Rueben Bain and Akheem Mesidor, right? And this is why scouting is so fun, because you go through and you watch these players, and then it always ties back to that's why that team was so good, right? Like right. You start to unveil it, and it's as the years go by, because I'm more than sure, there's going to be another potential linebacker or defensive back that's on this defense this year that was also on the defense last year, and you're like, I get it, right? Yep. This is why this team was so good. There's a lot of good football players on this football team. But now speaking about Ahmad specifically, this guy has the wanted blend of athleticism, physical brute strength, quickness, power, and a really good frame on him that you want, right? That's how you want to draw it up. And I'll say this, that it all 6'3", 320 pounds ain't the same. Because this young man, DP, I watched this film before I looked at his measurements, which I usually don't do. I usually look at the measurement first and then go from there. I thought he was going to come in at 6'4.5", 6'5". I thought that's what I was watching. So to me, he had pretty he reminded me of some of those Bama 4-3 defensive linemen that we like. These guys, remember they went on their stretches like the Justin E. Boydbees and the Byron Youngs, like just those big 4-3 those 3-4 eyes. But the other part that he has, because he plays in this scheme, you see the athleticism, right? Like those guys were more just they had a certain look to them, but they played the run in a very specific way, right? Like they were more worried about the run game and letting the outside linebackers like your Will Anderson is going to get the quarterback, which obviously makes sense. With this young man, like you mentioned, the 4.5 sacks on the season, they allow him to get upfield. He showcases athleticism consistently on tape, and this both as a pass rusher and in the run game. So I was impressed, DP. And I wasn't expecting, because I'm like, okay, we pretty familiar with Miami, obviously the Rueben Bains, the Akheem Mesidors. And then, like I said, I watched this guy and I said, well, yeah, this is why they made it, right? They had the best, go ahead and make this statement. They're the best defensive line in the country last year. When you throw this guy into the mix.
No, 100%. When you got Rueben Bain and Akheem Mesidor, that's already a problem. Then you throw in the Ahmad Moten Sr. Like he was such a fun study for me, Keith, because the first step quickness upfield, he creates difficult angles, in the run game for reach blocks and stuff like that. Like it's very difficult. There's a play where he's lined up he's either head up or shaded inside on the center. The center goes to make contact, and he completely misses. Like that's how quickly he was. That first step of him crossing face. So he went from one A gap to the opposite A gap, and he went untouched. And he was right there in the backfield and made a tackle for loss on the running back. Right, just that ability to avoid blocks, with that quickness, with that twitch and explosiveness. But I love the pad level, Keith. We talk about the drive phase all the time. This dude lives in the drive phase. Like that's his phase. Like he comes off the ball. His pads are low. He is leveled and he is driving upfield and getting into the backfield. And he doesn't, like the 40, he doesn't rise up until he's at the ball, until he needs to be, right? So I really love that, because that's something that we've talked about a lot with a lot of these players, like these defensive tackles. Like, man, pad level being inconsistent and, popping up out of their stance. Not with Ahmad Moten Sr. Like this guy keeps his pad level low, and it's just an optimal to maximize that quickness and that burst and acceleration. And he's an attacking defense. He's an attacking style defensive lineman. Again, a gap shooter. This guy, if you give him a sliver of a crease, of a gap for him to just slice into and shoot through, he's going to do every bit of that. I don't know how they're coaching him, if they just tell, like, because I remember watching Walter Nolan, Keith, and like, man, they're just really telling him to slant and just wreck shop. Like it's not even, there's no nuance to this, like nothing. It's just like, hey, slant, hit the center. Like just be a bull in the china shop and create havoc. I feel like they're telling Ahmad Moten, get in the backfield by any means necessary.
Yeah, it seems
he does it.
It's a lot more intentional, and
Yes.
like it's a full throttle thing. Like it's not like all right, we're going 45 miles per hour. Like this is full gas, right? Like they're pressing the pedal all the way down. Press the pedal all the way down and see where you end up, type of situation. I want to discuss real quick, DP. He's a heavy-handed guy too.
Yes.
Very heavy-handed, violent hands, and like I said, they apply both run game and pass rush. In the pass rush, you see him. You can almost see sometimes when he does some of his hand counters, he knocks offensive linemen off balance sometimes because it's so quick and violent. And then in the run game, we talked about that. I can't remember what guy we were talking about, but when you strike and you start to see that head jolt back for the offensive lineman, he's one of those guys that has that capability. And you can tell he's a guy whose strength and power, it will weigh on a defensive lineman. I mean, on an offensive lineman at some point, right? They'd be like, all right, I'm tired of having to go against this guy. It hurts to play him, right? So I was thoroughly impressed with him.
No, I mean, like, even especially in the run game, we talking about trying to, how they trap defensive tackles, they leave them unblocked, send that backside guard or tackle to try and clean them up. And his awareness is great. He does a good job of identifying that, like, okay, I'm unblocked, somebody's coming in my direction, and he finds them and he punishes the blocker. He strikes the blocker, that pulling guard or pulling tackle in the trap game. He strikes him with physicality, right? He holds up at the point of attack, and then he shed. I love to see tackles shed. Like, don't just fight to a stalemate, because I'm telling you right now, as a former running back, we don't care about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna cut
yeah.
Cool.
I mean, at this point, you're just a cone, right? Like you're a cone.
Basically, we
right
go through drills. Like, I'm just work right around you and get and whatever. Like, okay, you drove my offensive lineman back. Cool, that's good for you. I'm gonna go ahead and run through that lane you just vacated, right? Like, if there's nobody there, I'm gonna just hit that lane. No, shed, drive him back, shed, and he does a good job of using his arm length and the functional length that he has to lock out, right? Find the ball, shed, and get to the ball. Like, he has a nose for the football. Like, this is it's living in the South. He's like a bloodhound, like one of them hunter dogs. Like, you take him out, like, hey, you give him that scent and they go find it. Like, he knows how to find the football and get there. Like, this dude, like, yeah, NFL defensive line coaches are gonna love Ahmad Moten. The way he plays, that relentlessness, that aggression, and that physicality he plays with, that high mode, yeah. He like there's gonna be some conversations come draft night, Keith, where defensive line coaches like, hey, we should really draft him right here. Like, I just think right now would be the right time. Like, it might be first round. Well, there's gonna be some D-line coaches like, I want this guy in our room for camp, for training camp. I need this guy on the team.
Yep. No, I agree 100% with DP. Let's do this, man. We talked about the pros, right? Why the defensive lineman might be right next to the general manager saying, take this guy, right? But let's discuss why the general manager potentially might be saying, hold on there, young fella,
Right.
hold on. We may have to go in a different direction. Let's talk about the concerns for Mr. Ahmad Moten, the Miami interior defensive lineman. Let's discuss that coming up next.
Matt Derry here from the Locked On Lions podcast. You know, life insurance is one of those things you don't really think about until you have a reason to. For me, it really hit home when my father passed away over 20 years ago. You start thinking less about yourself and more about the people who depend on you and making sure they're taken care of no matter what. That's why I like Ethos. They make getting life insurance simple. It's 100% online, no doctor visits, no needles, none of that. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in just a few minutes, and even get same-day coverage. And honestly, that's huge because life gets busy. You can get up to $3 million in coverage, and some plans are as low as just $30 a month. It's just one of those things that gives you peace of mind knowing your family is protected. Take 10 minutes to get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Applications may vary. Rates may vary.
Breaking down the concerns from Miami disruptive defensive tackle Ahmad Moten Sr. Keith, out of Miami, what did you see on film that raised some eyebrows and concerns for you?
Yeah, I'll say this: there are missed opportunities. And we talked about the pressing the gas, 0 to 100 and praising it, right? But I think the counterpart to that, or the counter situation to that, is that sometimes you overrun plays. And getting upfield, I thought there were times where he ran himself out of the play, and just having ability. And listen, I've never been 300 plus pounds in my life, right? Just not. So I get it, right? I'm speaking on something that I'm more than sure is a lot more difficult to do than it is to say, right? And that's just being able to throttle down quickly, to be able to react and put himself in the position to be able to plant and drive different things like that. So I look at it from that perspective, DP, and I think that's where I'm saying, man, if we can fix that part of the game, and maybe it's just 2-3 steps up the field, right? I feel like there was times where he got 6-7 steps up the field. Sure. And yeah, if it's just a 2-3 steps of giving him a different mark to be like, look, if you don't have anything by now, if you didn't catch the fish by now, I need you to start looking laterally, right? Like look side to side, and go in that capacity. Because if he does that, DP, now you're talking about elevated numbers, just tackles for loss and sacks. And I think what game was it that he closed out? Was it Virginia Tech? And he had like it might have been a Virginia Tech game where it's like a couple sacks and a couple stops at the line of scrimmage, and you see the dominance because the awareness was there and he was in position for everything.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, Keith. And I think, that's good. That's something I wrote down, was like just over aggressive. Like I love the aggression. As we always say, it's easier to bring an aggressive guy and like taper him down a little bit than trying to make somebody that's not aggressive be aggressive. Yeah. Like that's just very difficult to do. Keith, I think for me, I talked about functional arm length, but I do feel like his arms are on the shorter end, like and everything. So it's like shedding some of those run blocks. Like his punch timing to me is outstanding. Like he strikes with quickness and intent, right? But it's like, okay, if you aren't able to get, like, again, just like I always compare D-line, O-line play to boxing, and it's like who's the fastest striker? Of course, strength and having that knockout blow is key. But you rarely see first round knockouts unless it's just you don't belong in the ring with me. You know what I mean? So it's like who can go the distance, hand counters, quickness, your defense, everything. All of that stuff matters to me. And I feel like with him, it's like his hands are quick, they're decisive, everything. But you're going to face offensive linemen who their hands are just as quick as yours or even quicker, and they're vets, right? Like they know. They've watched your tape. They know how to study defensive tackles when you come off the ball, when you raise your pads in your pad level and things of that nature. And even with the pad level, like there are going to be some guys who just immediately snatch trap you. You're already low, so why don't I push you back down? Like, you know what I mean? Push you to the ground, and then I go ahead and in that rep, the arm length is something that stood out to me. I was like, all right, I feel like it's functional, but I feel like he might be on the shorter end. I also think body type wise, keep looking at him because he's 6'3", 300. I think he's going to be another scheme dependent guy, like another role scheme dependent guy in the NFL.
And that's what that kind of caught me, DP. It caught me up, and I'm glad because that's the next point I was going to make. Was that I don't know why when I watched him, I thought he was 6'4" ish. I thought 6'4", 6'4".
He plays much bigger, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was thinking, I'm like, okay, this is actually a scheme versatile guy, right? Like I was thinking, all right, cool. Like, can he play some 4-eye and a 3-4 scheme, things like that for me? And I was just like, yeah, he can be able to do it. And then when I went to the actual measurements, it was a head scratcher. I'm like, okay, now where do I go from here?
Right.
And I agree with you. And I think if he is I think his best opportunity for success is in a 4-3. I think he's violent enough to survive in a 3-4 as a 4-eye, but I don't think it'll be best for him, right? Like I think he wouldn't be best using his skill set. And no, I'm glad you asked that because I was going to ask the same thing. And then also in the run game, I think, do you believe because Miami is another attacking team, right? Where they put their defensive linemen in position to attack versus maintain the line of scrimmage. How do you feel he plays the run game in those things? Like if a team asks him to anchor the line of scrimmage or, the kind of read and react versus attacking upfield. The shock, lock, peek, and shed, right? It's kind of the technique that a lot of people talk about. If he's asked to play that, how do you think he fares against double teams and single blocks?
Single blocks, I think he'll be fine. I think he does a good job against single blocks. Double teams where I had some. That's what my concern was. I was like he had a rep where he kind of like corkscrewed his way to holding up at the point of attack. But then, as we talked about, stalemate. So now, you corkscrew, so they didn't drive you back, but you're still nullified. And as the running back just can pick his spot and find, because you're not even in position to deter the running back. Like you're just holding up at the point of attack or trying to hold up at the point of attack versus the center and the guard, rather than, just when you're one-on-one, you're able to strike, shed, and get to the ball. I feel like it gets in one-on-one situations. I feel like the IQ is there, and that you could ask him to lock, peek out, lock, peek, shed, and stack the offensive lineman. Double teams, that's why I have the concern. I'm like, I don't, especially in the NFL, like, because again, these are college kids you facing. You know what I mean? It's a little different. You facing, Quentin Nelson and Quinn Miners and, some of the best guards in the league, and you got a center that's going to double team with them. And these guys are 6-7 years into the league. They fully grown, fully developed grown men. They have the grown men strength. They got the dad strength, and most of them are fathers. Yeah, like it's just a different ball game, man. I don't want him having to deal with that. I think it was the same thing I said about David Stone, Keith. I want him. I think ideally I want him as a 3-tech. I don't want him having to deal with double teams as much because I think it's going to neutralize his A trait, and that's ability to surge and create penetration, attack, and really get in the backfield and live in the backfield. I want him to, I want him to have an apartment, like a high rise in the backfield of every offensive backfield. I want you to be able to rent a spot in their backfield because that's what his game is like. That's the way he plays. I think double teams, I think it limits that substantially if he's having to fight through double teams. Because remember how we felt about, like, he's big. He's bigger than Kalijah Kancey. But it was like, yeah, we don't want Kalijah Kancey in that situation because it was like, you're quick, you're explosive, you're dynamic, you play with a certain level of violence for your size. But it's like, okay, if I double team you, I can neutralize all of that. You know what I mean? By putting 2 310-pound men and telling them to drive you off the ball and make some room.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with that. And it'd be interesting to see how this unfolds, right? And I think for Ahmad Moten, I'll wrap it up by saying this. With the size concern, I want you to make me forget, right? Or not even forget. I want you to make me throw it out the window, right? Because there've been certain players through the years, and not even just in the trenches, but it could be at wide receiver or, like a Tank Dell or, some of these running backs or, just different positions where we was like, well, I don't care. This guy can play football, right? And I want you to make me forget, or not even forget, just don't care. They want me to make me ignore it. I think that's
make somebody have to tell me, hey, he's only 6'3", 300.
Yeah, and
Really?
then I tell you, and I say, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, I didn't know
That's
that.
what I want because there's a lot of different things to be unlocked. But DP, let's go ahead and do this, man. Let's go ahead and drop the draft grade, right? We talk pros, we talk concerns. Let's go ahead and drop the draft grade for Mr. Ahmad Moten, interior defensive lineman for Miami, coming up next.
Support for today's episode comes from Ultra Pouches. If you ever found yourself reaching for a nicotine pouch, another cup of coffee, or an energy drink just to stay focused throughout the day, you're not alone. Whether you're working, studying, training, or simply trying to stay productive, Ultra was designed to help keep you locked in. It's also designed to provide the pouch experience people enjoy while delivering smooth, plant-powered energy without nicotine or caffeine. I typically like to indulge in Ultra pouches when I really need to lock in and study film for the podcast and for my scouting reports over at Bleacher Report. Ultra is the ultimate guilt-free pouch, delivering instant focus and mental clarity without nicotine or caffeine. New customers can use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get 15% off at takeultra.com. That's takeultra.com for 15% off with the code LOCKEDONNFL. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them Locked On NFL Draft sent you. Locked On NFL Draft is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Sometimes it's a hitter who's been on a hot streak, a favorable pitching matchup, or even a ballpark that tends to give up home runs. Those are always the first things I look at before making my daily dingers pick. So are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you, our everydayers. Keith explained the grade for Ahmad Moten Sr., the 6'3", 300-pound, attacking, disruptive defensive tackle for the Miami Hurricanes. What summer grade did you give Ahmad Moten?
DP, this is probably my most difficult one. Because I battled with myself, back and forth. We talked about the high level play and we talked about the size concerns, right? And where am I going to end up? I gave him a first round grade. Right now, I gave him a back end of the first round grade. And like I said, the how I finished off the last segment is what I'm gonna say too. Make me not care. Make me not care about the 6'3", 325 because the pros part of this, where this guy is the high motor, disruptive, like the things that we liked about Rueben Bain, right at the edge rusher position, and how he was physically dominant, didn't care. Hard hat and lunch pail type of guy, willing to do anything, potential culture setter. I think he has all of those different things at the interior defensive line position where you say pound for pound, this might be the toughest guy on the field, right? Just those type of situations. So that part gets him in the first round, but I would love to elevate him even higher and just say, we get to our segment, right? And I'm more than sure he's going to make this segment. When we get the Dames dudes, right? When we get in season, make him one of those guys, right? He's like, what? That's just one of my guys no matter what. So I gave him a first round grade. I gave him back into the first round grade and just want to see a couple other things from him.
No, I'm with you. I gave him a early second round grade, Keith, right around that fringe back end of round one. Again, love the kid, love what he does. I want to see, kind of the measurements and everything like that when it comes down to him, like, okay, where your arm length going, measuring and everything. But the disruption, the aggression, the just sheer like motor and like anger that he plays with, like this, I'm not gonna lie, there's some pass rush reps with how quickly he wins that, like, you look at his highlights and then you go look at, guys, don't trip when I say this. You go look at Aaron Donald's highlights and you're like, and you're like, oh, that looks so. They look almost identical. Like I am not. That's not even a comp.
What you gotta say,
that's not even a comp that I have. I do have some comps. I got like 3 of them. But I'm not. I will not invoke as like an actual comp, but just the way he wins and how quickly he can win and get past offensive linemen, cross facing, club rip, and all. Like it's just like, yo, like this dude is he again, like I don't care. Like what he's 6 if he's 6'3, 295, I'm like, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'll draft him. Like, you know what I mean? I'll put him on my team. You know what I mean? So I got him as a late early second, late first, early second, Keith, as well. And I think if he comes in and with specific, like if he hits a specific percentile in terms of arm length and everything, and whatnot, I think he just continue. Like now, you're the guy this year. You're one of the guys on this defense and everything. So because I also think don't they have the kid from Missouri, Damian Wilson or something like that? Did he transfer?
Yeah.
So
they revamped it, so it could be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. I think teams are going to try and keep Ahmad Moten Sr. out of the backfield. But some of the comps that came to mind, I thought about Los Angeles Rams. No, not Aaron Donald, guys. Kobe Turner, 6'2", 294. That one came to mind. Grady Jarrett was another one that came to mind. Grady Jarrett was 6'1", 304. And then I'd also thought about probably one of the best smaller defensive tackles of all time, and that was Geno Atkins, 6'2".
That's exactly what my comp was. My comp was Geno. And looking from a career perspective, DP, because I was just pulling up the stats, 75 sacks at the line position. And this is a young man early on in his career, DP. Well, not only just early on, throughout his career. 2012, 12 and a half sacks, 2015, 11 sacks, 2016, 9, 2017, 9, 2018, 10. That's really that's on another level of sack. That should put him in the Hall of Fame. To be completely honest, when you talk about sacks from an interior defensive line position, it put him in that light. And I believe Ahmad Moten has that in him. He potentially has that, to be completely honest. And so that's the excitement that goes around him. And then to that point, DP, with Geno being undersized, I believe he was a 3rd, 4th round pick overall. And I'm more than sure size had baked into the situation why he was drafted that late.
He was a 4th round pick, 120th pick overall. And then he became one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, right? At 6'2", 294. And I remember watching Geno, and Geno played with power, leverage, relentlessness, and sounds like a lot of the things we talk about with Ahmad Moten Sr. And to be honest with you, I think body types, they're not far apart either. Mm-hmm. I think Ahmad may be able to, because Ahmad's, I think his lower half is strong and dense. Geno was like really strong up top too. So I think if he, get in the NFL weight program, hit some weights a little bit, just kind of fill out the upper body a little bit more, he'll probably be a spitting image of Geno Atkins. And it's like when you're 6'2", sub 300, you're 290, 295, you got to be able to play with that leverage that you naturally have. And Geno was really good about that. So that was the one I was like watching him. I was like, and I started looking up size and heights and weights. And I'm like, man, this Geno Atkins comp feels really, really. That's the high end, of course, like Hall of Fame caliber, type of defensive tackle. And it was like, well, if he's not that, Kobe Turner was another, I think, day 3 pick, I think 4th, 5th round for the Rams.
Yeah, and Kobe
he's been really good.
No, he's been really, really good, right? And you probably won't stamp his career as a Hall of Fame guy yet, but he's definitely, I believe, he's on that path. As being, he's just not discussed a lot, and it's just because there's a lot of, the Rams have a lot of conversation around him. Period.
Yeah,
he's not discussed a lot as one of the true, anchors or like faces of that franchise, but he's pretty doggone good, DP. When we talk about overall sack production and being consistent. Yeah, I mean, listen, he's been in the league 3 years. He's going on his 4th year. He's had 9 sacks, 8 sacks, 7 sacks. That's pretty doggone good.
He might be gearing up for a career year with Myles Garrett sitting beside him now.
He's not going to see double teams anymore. Yeah.
You're getting the one-on-ones now, big dog. So he gets to get in the backfield a lot, Keith. That was, like I said, Geno Atkins, that's the ceiling, in my opinion. But if you come in and I get Kobe Turner, that's still – it may not be a home run. That's a double. You know what I mean? Geno Atkins is the home run, the grand slam of that
There was
situation.
one other guy that you mentioned.
Donald is the grand slam, but I'm not going.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe Aaron Donald was the other guy. I was like,
oh no, it was Grady Jarrett. It was Grady Jarrett.
Grady Jarrett, yeah, and I don't think that's a bad comp either, because Grady is another, like you said, just some of these guys have played more out of sight, out of mind situations. And Grady's, the Falcons wasn't great when he was great, right?
No.
So it's just difficult, the prime time, getting all of those Monday night, Sunday night football games to where everybody's watching as your impactful player. But if you ask around NFL, the actual players, they'll tell you like, nah, that's a dude, that's a guy.
That's a problem.
And we definitely believe that Ahmad Moten, with the overall motor, physical skill set that he provides, that he can become an impactful player. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all gonna talk to us, but we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it's available. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.